There are literally infinite places to write down tasks and try to stay organized. Apps, sticky notes, the margins of a takeout menu, but this just makes it so that our ideas, thoughts, and tasks are all squirreled away in every corner of the world. And this makes you feel like you're drowning. Here's what's really happening. You're spending more mental energy trying to remember where you wrote something down than actually getting the thing done. You're managing the management system instead of managing your life. I know that exact feeling because I have been living it for years. The constant background anxiety that something important is falling through the cracks, the frustration of knowing I wrote something down somewhere but having no idea where, that's when I realized I don't need to overhaul my entire system. I just need one central command notebook where all of it can land first. In this video, I'm going to show you the life admin book I designed to solve this exact problem and how I integrate it into my everyday life. The real problem with scattered systems is that it's not just disorganized. In fact, you can actually have multiple very organized systems and still feel scattered with your thoughts. The problem is often that you have just too many systems. So I've got my planner, I've got my project planner, I've got my notebook, I've got my health planner over here, my work planner over here, right? You have too many systems and none of them speak to each other. Every time you need to remember something or add a new task or follow up with someone or something, you have to make a decision. Where does this go? Is it work or personal? Is it urgent or can it wait? Should I put it in my phone or write it down? And these micro decisions just exhaust your brain before you even get to do any actual work. This leads up to decision fatigue and burnout so fast. And soon enough, you find yourself not using literally anything you set up, right? You're just wasting a bunch of time and a bunch of notebooks you've already set up or planners or to-do list apps, wasting all of that in the process. But even worse than the time loss is the mental weight. So these unfinished tasks just sit in the back of your mind, creating this like low-level background anxiety. And psychologists actually call this the Zeigarnik effect. This basically describes that our brains literally cannot let go of incomplete tasks. And when these tasks are scattered across multiple systems, this effect gets amplified because you're never quite sure if you've captured everything or if something important is just slipping through the cracks. Enter the Life Admin Notebook. So here's my solution. I've compiled a management system into one central notebook. This is an inbox, a task list, a place to brain dump projects, a place to store reference materials. It is not a replacement for my existing planners, right? It works alongside them. Think of it as the central hub where everything gets processed before it gets moved to its proper home. Clean all this up out of the way since we're no longer dealing with our scattered thoughts. So what do I mean by management system? I basically mean a methodology that you understand that helps you flow through the tasks and projects and little things that need to get done. Now, there are a ton of methodologies that you can use for a life admin notebook. You can make your own, certainly, but you can also borrow one from an existing system in order to really get the most out of the process the fastest. Examples of life admin systems include things like the Getting Things Done system, the bullet journal method, even like Agile. If anybody's familiar with Agile, can certainly be used as a life admin system. We want something that is very comprehensive, that just goes a little bit beyond regular goal setting and regular task management. Now, most of these systems have some sort of essential key pieces that will help you process and move through them. So I have taken from those and sort of hijacked this notebook to create my own that I think is pretty simple. This is what I want to share with you today. So most of them have sort of essential key lists that help you process your tasks. The first essential list that you need to have in a life admin notebook is your inbox. This is pretty self-explanatory. It collects everything. And then from the inbox, you're going to put it into a number of sub lists. First one is a follow-up list, sort of like a delegation or a waiting on list. Then there's a projects list. So I have a list of my projects here, and then I have pages dedicated to each project. The next list is an actions list. This is basically your running to-do list. Then you have what I like to call cold storage, and cold storage has two sub lists. So there's a reference list. So for things I need to reference in the future, this will be mostly like in the bullet journal equivalent. This is your collections would go into reference, for example. That's how that's sort of expressed in the bullet journal list. Then you have your someday list. It's also called a maybe list. It's also called an archive. in some systems. So someday is just for the stuff that you don't think you're going to access, unless maybe someday you will. And the magic isn't in the notebook itself. You can literally use any notebook you want. I have set up my life admin notebook in a traveler's notebook. I'm currently testing out this notebook system, and this is the best way I have figured out how to use it right now, but it could work for you in literally any notebook. In fact, I actually planned this out when I was testing David Allen's method. I gave myself an inbox, a next actions, a delegation list, a project list, a reference list, a someday list, and some notes, which are more or less the labels that he uses in his system. And I just set that up with tabs in like a plain notebook. So you can literally use anything. Beyond that, I just recommend you have a few repositionable tabs, as I already mentioned, and then some paper clips or binder clips for marking off sections, plus your favorite pen, and then we are off to the races. I want to hop in here and talk about something that actually makes getting ready in the morning way more fun, and that's today's sponsor, Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa Jewelry elevates your everyday. They sent me these two gorgeous pairs of earrings, and I've been wearing this pair basically nonstop because they just go with everything. This necklace I'm wearing is also from Ana Luisa, and I wear it literally every day. What I love about Ana Luisa is that they really have something for everyone with long-lasting, tarnish-resistant jewelry essentials that you not only look good in, but feel good about wearing. Their jewelry is crafted to stand the test of time with strength and humidity testing. Here's the cool thing. It won't break the bank with pieces starting at just $39. Plus, they offer free and fast US shipping and a 2-year warranty, so you can shop with total confidence. And if you care about sustainability like I do, Ana Luisa is carbon neutral and climate neutral certified, so you can feel good about what you're putting on your body and what you're supporting. Use the link in my description to get 20% off your order. Thanks to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. Now let's go through my simple setup. So let's take all of these loose thoughts that I had that I didn't know what to do with. These loose thoughts, some of them are tasks, some of them are ideas, some of them are future plans. They all go into my inbox. And I actually like to have my inbox like tabbed off with this binder clip so that it's super easy to just open up. I don't have to like flip through pages. It's just like so dirt simple. I actually have my actions list extending, or my inbox extended to this page right now. And so I'm just gonna copy in all of these pieces. And I'm gonna copy them in blue so we can differentiate from the tasks that I already have listed here. Because these are just example tasks. So I'm gonna do blue. So these are my tasks. So actually, these sticky notes, I don't need them anymore because now they're not cluttered and running around in my mind and wondering where to put them. I actually know where to put them, and it's in my inbox. First step. There's no decisions, no categorizing, no trying to figure out if it's important or urgent. I'm just capturing it and I'm moving on. If you're not always with your notebooks, you might sometimes write your ideas down on sticky notes like this or on a different notebook or in your phone, which is totally fine. But just try to get your notes into your inbox as soon as possible. After that, crumple up the sticky note, delete the Apple note, or cross off whatever you wrote in the wrong book and throw it away because it is no longer useful to you. Then, about once a week, but sometimes more often if things are busy, you want to sit down and you want to process everything you've captured in your inbox. This is where things get organized and moved to their proper homes. So here's how I evaluate everything. When I'm doing a weekly review, I will go through each captured item and I will decide what it is and what needs to happen with it. Some things become tasks, other things become projects that need their own page, some are just random thoughts that I can cross out and forget about it. So for example, set up meeting with boss. That is just a singular action item. So I would put this in next actions, or actually actions. David Allen calls it next actions in his list. Other systems call it a brain dump. Call it whatever you want. I liked the verb actions because it actually describes what I need to do. I need to act. So then I would go over to my actions and I would write out set up meeting with boss. And then I want to make this a little bit more distinct because your actions tab is essentially your to-do list. So in this filtering process, I might see set up meeting with boss, but in translating it over to my actions list, I want to make it much more easy to understand for future me because I'm doing just the cleaning out right now. Future me is going to be actually doing the tasks. And when future me gets here, set up meeting with boss is just a little too unclear for future me to thrive. So I instead would write set up meeting with boss to discuss scenes report video. So then when I'm ready to do my actions, I can come in here and just see set up meeting with my boss what meeting is that? Oh, it's to discuss the Dean's Report video. No problem. I can do that. And then once it's moved out of the inbox, I cross it off. I full on just like cross it off and it's done. I don't need to look at that anymore. Some tasks are still in the process of being formed. So for example, outline web page for work. This is definitely not a singular task. It is definitely a process, as in it has multiple steps. Like outlining a web page doesn't just have one step like the step isn't outline. It's actually, you have to gather the content, you have to organize the content by theme, you have to draw up a loose wireframe, you've got to put all the content in a doc with wireframed sections. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So this is actually going to be a project. And then I will go over to my projects tab and I will start a new project. So for me, that means writing out the new project name. So outline web page. If I was really doing this for real, I would be more specific. Instead of web page, I would say, let's use the Dean's Report example. So outline Dean's Report web page. And that's a project. And then I would flip through my projects, come to an empty page. And I like to leave a full page for my projects because sometimes I'll often add things or like I'll pin things to them, and it just helps to have a full page to do all that work on. So I'll come to this project and I'll add a title. So the title will be just what it said. So outline web page for Dean's Report. And then underneath this, I know I can add additional tasks. So usually when I set up a project, I will just add the first thing that I need to do, which is to email my boss for the content she wants on the page. So I'll usually just put down the first action that I need to do. And then when I'm ready to start this project, I'll come in here and I'll already have the first thing I want to do. I'm not quite ready to start this project yet, so this is just going to stay in here. But once I'm ready, and say I have a bunch of other steps, like I might have then like start document, wireframe, etc., etc. When I'm ready to start this project, then this task goes into my next actions. So I take this task and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start this project now. And then I will write it, here. And then suddenly that's my action. And once I'm done with that, I'll be like, okay, what else do I have to do today? And I'll go through my projects, etc., etc. So I'm only writing things here that are like the next to-do list on any of my projects. If it comes from projects, if it comes from my inbox, it's those things that I mentioned earlier. And then I cross it off because I've moved it. Now, some tasks I want to follow up on. So let's say I do text my mom about the trip. Let's say I see that it's a task that takes like under 2 minutes. So I'm not even going to bother taking it out of my inbox and putting it in my actions list. I'm actually just going to see that and then do it. So I've texted my mom about the trip and I can cross that off here. But I want to remember to follow up with my mom because maybe she'll forget or maybe she won't see my text message or whatever. So I go to my follow-up page, which is also called a delegated list. I like the term follow-up because it tells me what my actual action is. So there is a delegation portion of this, but really what I want to do is I want to follow up with someone. So in this example for work, I will need to follow up with my coworker to see if she did in fact reach out to Steven to schedule the video or whatever. But since I'm the one who texted my mom, I'm actually going to write follow up with mom. And then I'm going to write the date that I want to do it, which will be like, let's say like the 20th of this month. And then that one's done. And I put it in follow up. Now, many of the things that I write in my inbox are simply just not actionable. Like, I cannot do them. I don't have time to do them. I don't have money to do them. I don't have space in my life to do them. They sound nice, but they're just not realistic, and I'm just never gonna do them until I'm like old and gray. And one of such things is getting a philosophy degree. I already have an undergrad degree. I already have a master's degree. It was so hard to complete a master's degree while I was working full-time and doing the YouTube channel. Even though I only did the YouTube channel like my last 2 semesters of grad school, it was just really, really hard. And I was only able to get through it because my partner is a true angel and did like all the cooking and all the cleaning for me for like years while I was doing this master's degree. And I don't want to put him through that again. And I also just am not sure how this is going to serve me. So getting a philosophy degree is probably an action that I want to put on ice. AKA I want to put it in cold storage. My cold storage, my freezer in here in the back of my notebook. I want to put it in my someday list. So I'm going to write here, someday, get a philosophy degree. You might be asking, why don't I just cross it off? Why don't I just get rid of that idea? And I have two reasons for you. The first one is because I find that it will just like keep floating around if I just straight up delete it, and I won't know where to put it. I'll still maintain the same conundrum I've had. Do I put it in this notebook, this notebook, this notebook? Where do I set this thought down? And so putting it in my someday list, even though I like secretly know that my someday list is essentially just a, yeah, delete this, you don't have time for this, actually really helps, because that means I have a place for all of the thoughts that I literally cannot act on, all of the ideas I literally cannot do right now. And eventually I can go to my someday list and I can filter through this and I can say like, oh, you know what? I have 3 spare years. I can get a philosophy degree now or whatever. Like I can come in here and I can do that. I can say like, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to Mexico in 2 months. It would be a great time to brush up on my Spanish. Like those things go in someday because they need to be out of your working brain, which the rest of this notebook is your working brain, and into just cold storage where you can reference them if you want to, but it's not actually urgent and it's not even possible at the moment in some cases. So that went to someday and I cross it off. I think the only one we haven't covered is references. And I didn't really have a good example for this, but let's say I wrote down a recipe. So maybe the action item is take down grandma's recipe for soup. Grandma's got one soup and I want the recipe. And then, you know, she might give it to me and it's like on a little sticky note or on a little note card or something. And I know that that note card is going to get lost. So I would just come over to here to references and I would write grandma's soup and I would write down her soup. And then I would have that piece of reference in this notebook instead of in like a loose note card somewhere that I don't know where to put, for example. But I usually don't use the reference section unless it's for things like the system itself. So I would often put like a key. This is a key I made myself. That's actually so hard to implement, and I don't use it, but I don't want to forget that it exists. So I'll put it in reference because it might come in handy someday later, right? And I'm not really sure when, but I can always reference this if I want to use it in the front of my book, for example. So reference could also be used for things like collections. So a list of tarot decks that you want to buy, a list of birthday gift ideas for your brother. It could be literally anything like that. It could be instructions for things. So like a key, or like how to do getting things done, or how to do my system, what I should be doing with my system, stuff like that. So that's essentially what the flow of the notebook looks like. I usually keep a pen in here and just carry it around with me like this. And you can see in a traveler's notebook system, I have 3 notebooks that are split up with inbox, follow-up, projects and actions, and then cold storage with reference and someday. I like that system, but again, you can set this up in literally any notebook that you want. But I want to be completely honest with you about one thing. This system will not click with you immediately. I am still working on integrating this into my system seamlessly. So when I have a task that comes in here that goes to my next actions list, I'll often schedule it further into a planner, or if it's like a note for a piece of fiction I'm writing, then I'll often pull it. It won't stay in references. It'll often be pulled out and go into Scrivener, which is a program I use for writing, stuff like that. So I'm still working on getting it into my system seamlessly, and I still default all the time to putting my habits onto sticky notes, or putting some things in my phone, others in my planner, and just trying to remember everything all the time. But here's what I learned. You don't have to be perfect for this to work, okay? Even capturing 70% of your mental load in one place makes a massive difference. And after around 1 month of consistent use, I promise you something will shift. You'll stop having those panicky moments where you like can't remember where you put something down, or you're combing through your Apple Notes or whatever, trying to find something. With this notebook, you will have created a central administrative system for your life. And with consistent use, your brain will start to trust that if something is important, it will be captured and it will get handled at the right time through this system. The best tip I can give you to make it work is that at minimum once a week, come into your notebook, open your inbox, brain dump everything you need to do, and then sort all of those things. So brain dump everything and then go back to the top of your inbox and one by one assess. What do I need to do? Go in order. Very important that you go in order. This is a tip from David Allen. Go in order. Do not move on to, place journal by bedside and label it until you have completed create universal packing list for all trips. That one might be a little unrealistic. But anyway, do not move on, because that way you're really going to get in deep with each of your tasks and put them in the correct place for you to use them or reference them in the future or whatever you like to do with your tasks. That is the best way that you can fully get a lot out of this system. Remember, this takes time to click, so don't expect perfection from day one. Start capturing everything in one place and trust that the organization will follow. I would love to know what your biggest source of scattered task chaos is. Is it random life admin stuff, work overflow, or something else entirely? Let me know in the comments section below, because I think we all struggle with this a little more than we'd like to admit. If you're looking to integrate this into a custom productivity setup, check out this video right here on the screen next to my head about putting together a system that is tailored just for you. Otherwise, thanks for watching, for being subscribed, and being awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.